So, generally speaking, these operations act on the rows. They don't change the columns, but instead they work on the order of the rows, or you can also select a set of data. Now let's see what affects the columns. The first one would be the select function. This is just to show you how to use it correctly. You have to put the question mark to ask for help, and then you'll see here select. You have the different criteria that you can use. For example, in order to select all the variables, all the columns, also criteria to select the columns that start or end with a suffix or a prefix. It contains a certain pattern of text and many other things that you can do with that option in order to choose the columns that you're interested in. So the first example here of select, here I'm selecting this set of data for the crops, just the variables called cultivar or sow and yield or rendimiento. I had 8 columns and now I only have 2, but the number of rows didn't change. Look at this. I'm not saving the results. I'm not saving them in a new variable. I'm just using this to demonstrate. What I can do here is that do this and I won't modify the data. Uh, I'll just obtain a set of data that would be a result. But I'm working on the console. I'm not modifying the data or saving anything in a new variable. This would be how to select a range of columns. So I'm going to run this just to show you that the 7 columns are in my data set. And now I'm going to select the range that goes from the column called cultivar or so to the one that says yield. This would help us to select all of these columns, the whole range. It's a more practical approach instead of having to write in all of the names of what you want. You can see that I get the information that goes from sowing up to yield. So what I have here, the dates, they are not being included here. I didn't select them, so I have everything else from there on. You can also use the subtraction in order to obviate or remove or not to show a column. This way you'll select everything except the ones that have this icon, this character. So I selected 6 and I don't have any more. I can also use the function called select in order to rearrange or reorganize the columns. Let's say that I want to change the order and have soil ID here as a first option in the first column, then former crop, and finally everything else. This is another one of the functions that we could see here. That means that you can put everything else, the ones that I didn't select, that I didn't write in, are going to have the same order that they previously had. We can also rename everything. We can rename the columns. Let's say that I choose this option. This means that a new column called cultivo anterior is equal to former crop. So it's going to rename this column. So you can see here that cultivo anterior is just in the same position that everything else was. So all of this is very useful, and with the exercises and everything that you have to do in your daily work, most likely you're going to be able to better understand this and why to use each one of these functions, because this just makes your life a lot easier. And it helps to concentrate on the functions that you want and the variables that you want to have. You can do all this in R. So almost everything that I'm showing you today can also be done with the base functions of R without using the whole package. There are other functions that can also allow us to obtain the same results, but Generally, it's a lot harder. You have to use more code lines, or it's a little bit more confusing somehow. So that's the advantage of using this set of data. This is a little bit more precise and easy to use. I also showed you that you can rename with the select function, but if the only thing that you want to do is rename, there's another special function for that called rename specifically. And the advantage is that it's only going to rename what's been specified and it's not going to change anything else. So I don't have to say that you have to keep everything as it was before, because this is previously understood without having to go through all this.